Welcome to Build, yes. Woo indeed. Woo indeed. I'm your host, Matt Forte, and we are here live at the Build studio in New York City. Our next guest you've seen everywhere, man, on Sons of Anarchy, The Last Ship, Prison Break, and now you can catch her in the phenomenal Bravo original series, Imposters. Entering its second season, she stars as Maddie, and Saffron, and Ava, and Cece, and Alice. You see, there's a lot. She's got her hands full, because Maddie is a persona-shifting con artist who is as beautiful as she is dangerous. And in season 1, 3 of her former targets teamed up to track her down. Now, here to tell us all about season 2, the latest twists and turns, and generally just be an awesome person, the supremely talented Inbar Lavi is here. Make some noise. How about that? How about that? It's exciting. Before we bring her out, though, we're going to take a quick look. I believe we got a trailer for season 2. So, Luke, let's go ahead and run that clip, man.
All I'm looking for is a nice, quiet life in a nice, quiet town.
That sounds boring.
Your daughter is a con artist, and unless we find her, her life is in danger.
I don't want this life. What if you went to the police? He'd kill me.
Ezra Bloom, you're under arrest. Put it down now. Do not get in the vehicle. Do not put it in gear.
We're gonna put together every trick, every scam. We'll take him for everything he's got, like he's done to us.
You're a runner, and I'm a chaser.
Showtime.
See you in the game.
Swift, brutal violence can be effective.
We have a problem.
Oh, such a good show. Guys, Inbar Lavi. It's exciting. Welcome.
Thank you.
We've got so much to discuss. Season 2, phenomenal. I mean, I've only seen one episode of it so far, but I can tell it's picking up right where we left off with season 1, which I absolutely loved. So we've got a lot to discuss. But before we get to any of that, very, very important to me, because we have time here on Build. How are you? How is Inbar doing?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be in New York City, and thank you guys for coming, and thank you for having me on the show.
No, thanks for finding time to come hang out with us. It's fun to be back in New York. You live on the West Coast now, though, right? You live over there.
I just got a place in LA.
Oh, congratulations.
This year. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Prior to that, but you went to school here, you studied here. New York is a very special place for you, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. This is the first stop I had when I first moved to America. Yeah. From Israel. I moved here like 12 years ago. So.
Flies by. Does it feel like yesterday still? Like, or do you feel like you've put in some time?
It feels like a million years ago. A lot has happened. A lot has changed.
Quite a bit has changed.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, I want to get to this, but I love your story too. I just want to talk about you for a little bit and how awesome you are. I hope that doesn't make you too uncomfortable. So.
Not at all. We can talk about that as long as you'd like.
Fantastic. All right. So. So you moved here about 12 years ago or so, and I read this, and correct me if I'm wrong, the impetus for the big move, the reason you moved was you were studying dance, but you wanted to come here to study acting and performance. Is that correct, or it's layered? There's always more than one reason, but that was a big one, right?
Yeah, you've done your homework. Yes, I was actually in dance, I guess you can call it a dance academy. Yeah. And I did ballet and contemporary dance and jazz and tap and flamenco and polka, whatever you want, all of it.
Wow. How long did you do that for? How long were you studying dance?
That was 6 years, so junior high all the way through high school.
That's wild. Now, do you remember what it was or the moment in time where you wanted to shift those gears and focus on acting and performance?
I always wanted to act. I think, yeah, my dad had a big video camera, and I would perform for him ever since I was a very, very young child. We have videos of me as a 3-year-old just performing and doing little skits, and whenever I could find an audience, I would perform.
perform.
Yeah.
How have those videos not made it onto the internet yet for us? That sounds adorable. I love that because not everybody had those cameras when they were little. My family, I was very lucky. My family, my dad had a video camera, and for better or worse, he videotaped everything. But my wife, they didn't have the video camera, so she doesn't. She has maybe like 1 or 2 tapes, whereas I have like a stack of VHSs this big.
Yeah.
That's always a cool thing to have that history. Do you ever get to go back and watch those tapes? I know you visit from time to time.
I do. I revisit that a lot, and it's as embarrassing as always. And if that ever sees the light of day, my career is over.
Fair enough. I can see that. I can relate to that.
And we have a clip today.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you bring that up because guess what we dug up from the archives? No. So
no one cares. No one cares.
It's not gonna happen. Don't worry. We don't have them. But your dad is here with the videos. No. Okay. Let's move on. Do you still dance? Do you miss dance? What's dance like in your life at this point?
You know, I use dance when I get ready for performing any character. So, for instance, on this show, I have a lot of different types of women that I get to portray, and I would play different music that gets me in the zone, and I would dance the way that character would move around, and that kind of helps put me in the groove.
For sure, I can totally see that because everyone, and at my count, I wrote them all down. I think you had 5 total, at least in season 1, that you were doing, right? Because you had Maddie, and then you had Saffron, and you had Ava, and you had Cece, and Alice. So you had all these different personalities. And some of them are on screen more than others. Some of them are there for a flash in the pan. Some of them get a couple of different scenes. But each one of them, you have to flesh out this whole character, this whole believable persona. So you can't phone it in. You've got to deliver. And you do exactly that. What was that process like of coming up with each one of these characters and figuring out who they were and how they would be and their little nuances and stuff like that?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, for an actor, all we can really ask for is to have different masks. And in this project, I get to have so many different types of masks. And I think for me, the most challenging thing was to find the truth beneath it all, because there's so many layers, and she's faking so much that I had to find the honesty beneath it all. And I think that's what helped keep me grounded in each personality.
Yeah. All right, so you listened to the music before to kind of help you get in that zone, and you had certain music you would listen to. Did anything you learned as a dancer and sort of learning how to be in tune with your body, with your breathing and all that help inform the performance itself? Like, did you tap into certain things of your dancer brain when you were turning on, like, Saffron or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I use physicality in my performance with each character that I play. I use my voice a lot. I think hair, makeup, costumes, that's head to toe. You can tell so much about a person from how they present themselves. Oh, no. For instance, what's happening with your shoes right now?
That is a wonderful question. These are my, okay, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's talk about these for a little bit.
Yeah.
Do we have a good shot on my shoes? Do you want to get the jib in here? Get in tight. These are they're a little weathered, but they're my Vans, the Nintendo Limited Series Vans, right?
Exactly.
And they are decorated with various little 8-bit characters from the original Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario, right? What does that say about you? You're playful.
Oh.
You...
Keep going. No, this was about you, but I like what's happening here. Go on.
You're playful. You're not afraid to experiment. You like to stand out. Wow. You can be a little quirky. You're sophisticated. And you don't take yourself too seriously.
I'm going to ask for a round of applause. This is very impressive.
Am I right? Is any of it? No, I'm completely off.
I mean, it's all the opposite of who I really am, so you were wrong 100%. But what I liked was that you put yourself out there, and you took a big swing. No, that was all relatively accurate and very cool. I just liked these, right? So I don't think of all those things when I'm putting those things together, but I guess...
Well, when you're a con artist, you have to dissect all of it, and you have to, I think the beauty of it all, so she has to come up with, okay, what is it that I want to portray and put out there, but I also need to think about, what do you want to see? So...
Is that something, though, because that is interesting, but it also kind of sounds like a skill set that you might have had as an actor before becoming a con artist. Has there been overlap? Were there new things you absorbed and figured out in this role?
Of course. I mean, I play a character who pretends to be other people for a living. I think there's a lot of similarities. Yeah, you walk into a room for an audition or an interview, and you have to make sure that the audience falls in love with you, right? Yeah. She does the same thing. Yeah. It's just an interesting concept to think of every meeting and every relationship that we have is an opportunity to con, in a way.
But it sounds exhausting. I will tell you that.
It is exhausting. It is.
Which kind of leads to season 2 almost.
Exactly.
That was a hell of a segue, wasn't it? That was.
That's it. You did good there. You did good there, kid.
Thank you very much. So here we are, season 2, totally different from what I can tell so far from season 1. Still very entertaining, still very exciting.
Thank you.
Talk to us about going into that. What were you excited to do with Maddie getting into season 2?
Well, like you said, it is exhausting. In season 2, you find Maddie exhausted from pretending to be all these other people and desperate to live a life of her own. And yet, pretty fast, she realizes that that's not going to be easy to do. And also, what is my life when you've been spending so much time being other people? So you dive into her true self. Sometimes it ain't that pretty. You know, we kind of strip her away. We kind of strip her down. But that was an exciting exploration all on its own.
As you're stripping Maddie down, as you're finding these different layers and exploring the character, was a lot of this stuff that you maybe thought of in season 1 and kind of tucked away? Like, this feels like a Maddie thing. I'm going to hold on to this for later because I think if we get deeper, I'm gonna explore this more.
Yeah, I think that for me, before I even step on set, I have to do so much research and I have to make so many decisions of where she came from and where she's going. And some of my backstory work that I did ended up being completely different from what they came up with for season 2. And so I had to kind of incorporate my own and balance it out with their imagination, and then we landed somewhere in the middle.
Was when you first got involved with the show and you found out all the different masks that you'd get to wear and all the different layers to this character, was that at all intimidating or was that exciting? That was like, oh, this is why I want to do it.
It was definitely a combination of both. You know, whenever I get completely terrified is always a good place to start because something good is going to come out of it. It's going to put me, I'm going to be on my toes and get excited. But it was also scary. Yeah, I hope it worked out. I don't know. We'll find out.
First of all, you got a season 2. Clearly it worked out.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so you're doing something
okay.
right.
Yeah.
But, to that end, speaking of exciting and intimidating, I cannot talk about this show without talking about the incredible Uma Thurman who showed up, who I didn't realize was in the show. I was watching season 1, and I was like, is that Uma? And when I found it, it's so exciting. I love Uma Thurman. I think it's great. She's amazing in things. I can't imagine, especially the scene you have with her in season 1, what it's like working with her. And just what was it like to have this incredible performer, this incredibly talented person to kind of learn from and play with?
I mean, she is such a force. You know, there's no way to be on set with Uma Thurman on set and not know that Uma Thurman is on set. Yeah, I mean, I remember, because she's not in a huge part of the season, but she has such a huge part this season, And so I remember everyone got so excited for Uma Thurman to get to set and have that scene. And everyone showed up on set that day. People who weren't working, people who were off. Just, everyone and their dogs came to set that day. And, it's strange because as soon as I was so nervous around her. I wanted her to like me so much. And I would have just like mouth diarrhea. I would just say stupid stuff. Like I would start talking about politics. And random things, not even true things. Just I would make up things that I heard, and just the worst. And then when the scene started, it would go away. Like I would completely zone in, and I wasn't nervous anymore, and I was really focused on the work. But as soon as it would cut, I'd be like, habada.
Yeah, so what's going on? Let me ask you this.
Stupid.
I'm going to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer this, but do you remember, because I've been in similar scenarios where you really want to make a good impression, and there's always one thing you've said that is probably the dumbest thing, and you play it over and over in your head, and you're like, why did I say that thing? What's your dumb thing that you said that you play over in your head? Do you remember anything that you said to Uma, and you were like,
don't remember. Everything turned into
blur.
like black spots. It's Uma. You know what I mean? I don't know. I hope she forgives me. I don't know what I said.
Well, she keeps showing up, right? So it can't be that bad.
Yes, so, I mean...
How much of season 2 is done? Have you guys finished it yet? Is it all wrapped up?
It's all wrapped up in a big red bow.
Exciting.
It's out for your pleasure on Bravo TV.
This is true. The whole thing's on Bravo right now? I thought
Second season is out on Bravo.
Yeah.
And the first
season on Netflix.
The first season is out on Netflix.
That's where I discovered it. Yeah, but it's every Thursdays at 10 on Bravo. Was the plug? I got to make sure we're doing our job.
Did you get
here.
that? You want to say that again?
Thursdays at 10.
Thursdays at 10 on Bravo.
I believe it. I'm sorry. Can you say? I didn't hear it.
Thursdays at 10 on Bravo.
I thought she said Thursdays at 10 on Bravo.
Got you, girl. We got our Bravo girl in the audience. I'm covered.
We're gonna throw it over to audience in just a second, but there were a couple of more things that I wanted to touch on before we get down there. First is you had done I forget how far, I think it might have been around the first season, but you put a social post up where you saw on a subway that you used to just ride all the time, and you saw the ad of like you on the ad, right? It's very surreal. How does that feel? Because that's the dream. Not only that, but the guy who graffitied it was nice enough not to do anything to your face. Like, that is the dream. Because I have a funny story about that in a second, but this is about you. So what did that feel like when you saw that for the first time and you're like, oh, man, I'm doing it, dude. This is it. Here.
It was definitely surreal. You know, when I first came to the city, I didn't know anybody, and I don't come from a very wealthy family, and there was a point where I couldn't afford rent, and I didn't have a place to go, and I spent the night riding the subway. So, and you can only, you're looking out and you're seeing all the people who are making their dreams come true, and you think, oh, I hope that happens to me, and you don't really know. And every time you get a no at an audition, you think that's never going to happen, and I'm wasting my time, and I'm being silly. And then you see your poster up on the subway, and it's, there's no way to describe.
Well, congratulations wholeheartedly on this wonderful show, on living the freaking dream and making it happen, and on having such a great show on Thursdays at 9 on Bravo.
On Bravo.
Yeah, on Bravo. And we're going to turn it over to the audience for some Q&A really quick. I think we got some microphones out there. Our first one appears to be right here in the front.
Hi.
So I know you studied at Lee Strasberg, right? Do you find that now that you've done so many shows and after studying there, that it's become easier when you take on a new role, or do you still have the same process every time you take on a different character?
I think each time I play a different character, it's challenging in a different way. They all have different personalities, so they bring different things that I need to explore and dissect. But definitely it's been helpful to go to school and have my little tools that I go to, and that keeps me more confident.
Thank you for that. Next question looks like it's coming from over here on our green couch.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Good.
I was wondering, out of all the kind of personas that you play on Imposters, which is the most challenging to emotionally prepare for?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would have to say Maddie, because she's the core of all the different personalities. They all kind of stem from her, and I think doing a show like this, it's a dramedy. So when you prepare a character like that, you want it to have depth, but I didn't want to confuse it with weight, because I think those are two very different things. So that was probably my biggest challenge with Maddie. And I think actually, in fact, I think that when people go through crisis, they tend to not sink into the darkness. They tend to reach out to the lighter moments in life. So trying to keep the balance between the drama and the comedy for Maddie was my biggest challenge.
For sure. Thank you for those awesome questions. Again, the signal, I got to wrap things up. But before we go, of course, Imposters Season 1's on Netflix. Season 2 you can watch now Thursdays at 10 on Bravo, right? 10 on Bravo.
10 on Bravo.
Thank you again to you guys. And everybody, please join me in thanking Inbar for being here. Make some noise.
Thank you
Inbar
so
Lavi, everybody.
much.
Thank you so much.